ladies. Welcome to another episode of the Revitalized Womanhood Podcast. I am joined today with Terri Sidford. She is an author, two-time author, TedX speaker, public speaker, and life coach. And she is so beautiful. She's also a fellow Utah now. Wasn't always, but now she can claim that.
Yes.
And she has just been introduced to our little co-host guest, even, that my listeners are going to be getting used to hearing her coos and sounds, and hopefully not too terrible of noises. She's been so good so far, though.
Oh, we love it. We bring it on.
Oh my gosh. Isn't that just such a Utah thing to do? Like, I have a podcast and I'm nursing my baby while I do it.
Everyone understands.
Everyone understands. And if they don't, you're not my people. And that's okay. You can be someone else's people and that's fine. I love that. That's what makes the tapestry of the world so beautiful. But we were just already having such a great conversation. I'm like, Terry, we got to just hit record. Hang on. So what were you about to ask? You're going to be, I'm going to be on Terry's podcast coming next week. Is it next week?
Yes, I think it's next week. And I'm so excited to find out more about you and what you're doing and what your goals are and what kind of audience you're looking for and what kind of impact you're looking for. I'm not interviewing you, but I just love it. So as your guest here today, I just want to, in your audience, I really want to impact them in the best way I can today.
Absolutely. You know what? I think of myself kind of as a pioneer because I was raised by, you can relate to this as far as your grandmother goes from your book, which we will get into that. But my mother, we had 8 kids in my family growing up in northern Utah. So I'm a Davis Dart. I'm from Kaysville.
Yes.
Northern Utah, but I was originally from even tiny town in the very north of Utah, Garland, which is just farm town, right? And I grew up to be 5 years old there. And in those 5 years, walking back and forth between the fields and on the railroad tracks. Like, I was 3 years old walking the railroad tracks to get to my grandma's house, active railroads, and it was just, it was such I wrote an essay on it once in college, and I called it Never Neverland, because it was so where kids can just be free, like you think, like playing in the irrigation and probably just what Orem was for you when you were visiting your grandparents, honestly.
Exactly.
Same kind of concepts.
Yes.
But anyway, so I was raised by a mother who was a stay-at-home wife, and we had one income. My dad went to work, did the 9 to 5. And because she came from such humble upbringing, right, of raising her own food, they had the animals, the farm, made their own clothes. It was very humble upbringing. And my grandmother even got cancer when they were young. So my mom helped raise her other 5 siblings. She was the oldest. And so she's constantly just her whole life been this mother figure, homemaker, homesteader, So that's what I was raised looking up to and watching. However, that is beautiful. And I love that for her. However, it does, and this has nothing to do, I'm not even bringing in religion or anything, nothing to do with that, but the patriarchy of just society alone and the conditioning of what women are supposed to do, right? The supposed to's, I call them. I had her on here actually as one of my first podcasts. I'm like, I absolutely want you to be on my podcast. Like, I think you have so much wisdom to give, right? And share. And I said, what would you go back and tell teenage Evelyn? What would you go tell her? And she said that there's time for all of that. Give to yourself first. Do things for yourself first. There's always going to be time for kids. There's going to be time for the husband. And that broke my heart, honestly, because this is a woman who I've watched my entire life give so selflessly to her 8 children, who were, half of us were horrible. And, and then to my dad, constantly waiting on him. And that's, she loves it. So I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but also at the same time, she recognized that she missed out on maybe a lot of things that she could have done for herself. And so that is who I speak to. I speak to these women who are family centric, whether they are a working mom, because that's just what has to happen right now. Some of us, it's just has to, or whether they are a stay-at-home mom or whatever family woman they want to be, they are family centric. And I think that is, I am a pioneer in this, because you have communities out here for business women or women who were raised by an entrepreneurial mother or father, or that learned early in life that, yeah, being selfish is a good thing because you fill yourself up first. Then you can, we're talking about this in my community, because February, the month of love, I want everyone to be selfish. And I'm not even saying self-full. I'm saying selfish, because that word is so shocking and jarring to most women, because it's a negative. It's always been used as a negative. And it's like, no, it's not. I want you to be shocked by this word, because I want you to remember that it's not. I want you to give from a place of abundance. If you are taking in abundantly, you are giving abundantly, right? You're never giving from a place of lack. And I
Yes.
have members in my community that are anywhere from 20 years old up to 78 years old that are still learning these concepts. These young girls, thank goodness, before they have kids, before they're married, they're learning these concepts. But I have women who are older than me that are still trying to remember these concepts and learn these concepts. And it's like, my podcast is like permission to be this way, right? Permission to make your own decisions. I'm not saying it doesn't have to mean neglect. Selfish doesn't mean neglect in everything else. It means abundance for you so that you're abundantly giving to them, right?
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. And
So,
I've worked with a lot of women through acting, and I also wrote a book and did a survey about women and courage. And the reason I did that was because most women did not see themselves as courageous, and they were incredible with what they did. Women are incredible. They they multitask. They do more than they know that they're doing. And I think that maybe is a starting point. If I were to talk to anybody listening right now, is just take a moment and think about who you are
yeah.
and how much you do. We don't give ourselves enough credit, first of all. That's number one. And how strong you are, number two. And once you start to focus on your strengths and who you are and what you're capable of being, and that's the self-care. That's, taking care of yourself, like you just said. And that's being selfish in a good way. So there's selfish in a good way. That's what you're talking about. And once you start to really focus on who you are, what you're capable of, then you're already a multitasker. You can't even imagine what you're capable of doing, being, and achieving. That's what I've seen.
That's actually my first question for you. Is your book and your TEDx talk both focus on courage? And I love the part where the gal in the audience stopped you, because you were like, huh, okay. And I felt that. I felt that when I read that line, because so often I give these monthly topics in our community, and I give these questions, personal challenge questions, and group discussion questions. And then I will sit down with them once a week in these calls and ask them. And sometimes it'll get flipped on me, and I'm like, oh, I probably should have answered that for myself before I even asked to you. I probably should have sat with this question before I even brought it to the group. So how do you explain to women that you can tap into this like reservoir of courage? You have it. You need to just tap into it.
Yes, I have like 6 steps of courage that I could share with people if they want to, if they contact me or you. But
Cool.
I'll just give you a few of the steps. And first of all, it's look at your life and see how many times you've overcome adversity. You made it. You might not have even done it gracefully, but you did it. Still here, right? At the worst case scenario, did you learn something? Did it make you better? We all make mistakes, but you're on the other side of it. So first of all, just take kind of a inventory of how many times you've overcome adversity. How strong have you been, really? And that is a courageous act to overcome anything. And courage comes in many different forms. People that have health issues, or sometimes it's just getting out of bed.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different ways that we can identify courage in ourselves. Now, if you still have a hard time with that, then think about other people that you consider courageous, your friends, your mother, and relatives, and look at their characteristics and what they've done and see if there's anything similar within what you see in them, and then take it back And it's a self-discovery that you have to really think and take time to be in present time, be aware, think about your whole life story. And I can guarantee, almost guarantee that you will find somewhere where you have been courageous. And the more that you identify your courage, the more you will use it into the future.
Absolutely. And you know what's so interesting to me is this one realization came just Wednesday, just a couple nights ago. And I said to these women in our call, I said, you know what? I want you all to throw up three, um, did I say 3 or 5? Anyway, 3 to 5 characteristics things about yourself that you just love about yourself, right? And bam, 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 bam. They're coming in on the chats, and it was amazing. It was wonderful to see. And one of my other ladies, one of my leaders said, I just want to stop for a minute and say, I am so proud of everyone here. Because 2+ years ago, when this started, that would have been crickets. Nobody would have said anything good about themselves. They would have been embarrassed, or they would have not known, not been able to say anything, not been able to identify because of so many of the limiting beliefs and the poo-poo on themselves. And it was one of those moments where if you don't stop and appreciate those moments of growth, do you guys realize that seems silly to some people? It's not. It's huge. It's huge because my husband and I were on a call earlier in the day, and that's where I got the idea. That's where I got the challenge, was on a call with a parenting coach. And he said, list your 5 characteristics, because we were talking about what we want to pass down to our children and things. And seriously, we were like, and we were joking, like 5 between everybody on the call, or, we really couldn't. And it's funny because we're competent people. We're confident. And like with my women, I just threw them out there. It was no big deal. But in that moment, we were all dumbfounded. We're just frozen in it. And it's like, well, it's because in that situation, we're talking about parenting. And what do I feel about myself in parenting? So
Yes.
it's something that just follows us all. It's something we have to constantly be mindful of, finding those moments, identifying those moments.
We do. And the reason it's so important, and I can say this with 100% confidence, because I've lived through it, first of all, and I've fought to be the best version of myself, regardless of my circumstances and my story, and that my story does not have to define me, that it can make me who I am today. A very strong person who knows her purpose and passion in life. And because I'm living that purpose and passion, I'm impacting many more people than I ever would if I just stayed in my own little lane, not looking at myself, not appreciating myself and my characteristics and my values and who I am and what I have to offer the world. If I stay in that little place and don't look at it, and that's what we're talking about here right now.
Mhm.
Why is this so important? It's so important because you are meant to be the best version of who you are, with all your bumps and bruises and flaws and imperfections. And
Right.
if you find that, you're going to change the person that you walk into the grocery store and sees you, and just eye to eye for a minute. You're going to change so many people's lives instead of just holding yourself back, not even knowing who you are and what you're capable of. That's what's at risk here, everyone. And the amount of fulfillment and joy you will experience when you take the time to give yourself some credit and see who you are, what your strengths are, and be proud of who you are. And that will really give you a sense of confidence, a sense of fulfillment, and happiness you probably never even have known before.
Right. I don't want to skip to this question first, but if I don't, it'll just mom brain away. But in your book, so here we have, this is the most recent. I'm gonna show, if you're on the YouTube, here's the most recent. It's Truth, Courage, and Love. And I also want to appreciate the moments in here that you were surrounded by the right people in your life. You were able to find the courage because of people in your life that were cheering you on, that were saying, no, this needs to be shared. You need to speak out about this. You know what I mean? And you were like, no, I don't know. What do you mean? No. But because of the people that you were surrounding yourself with. So imagine, you guys, if you're not surrounding yourself with these kind of people who will uplift you, who will cheer you on, who will see, I call it my magic mirror, the magic mirror that there's definitely a children's book here, but
Yeah.
it's the magic mirror where women come to me and I'm like, oh, wow. Okay. So for example, one of these gals that she was the first person to join my community. She's one of my dearest friends. And I said, you're a leader. You're going to be a leader in this community. And she was like, absolutely not. I am the furthest thing from that. And I'm like, I see it in you. I see it. You are so strong. How can you not see this? And I call it my magic mirror. I wish I could just turn this mirror around on them so that they could see the reflection that I see, not the reflection that their many years of limiting beliefs is showing them. There are many years of people telling them no, of whatever they've built up in their minds, that they could see what I'm seeing through, because I don't have all of that junk built up, right?
Yes. Yes.
And that's, so you had that. You had these people cheering you on and telling you, you got this.
I did, and I reflected on that, and there's always people out there, even when you don't think there are, and you have to be vulnerable enough to ask for help, knowing that you always are the one who gets to ultimately choose your path and your direction. People can you can be stuck and not know where to go. Ask for help. They can give you advice and lift you up what you need, because I think what you just said was so perfect. We can't see what other people see in us. And one of the coaching tools that I've used in the past is have them ask 5 best friends or relatives to give them, 5 characteristics that they value in them. And a lot
Love
of them
that.
are just completely shocked.
Right.
So it is important. I couldn't have gotten through and be here today with my life story and things that I've had to overcome and be here with you today without some very important people in my life. And I will not ever hesitate to ask for help. And I do surround myself with people who think the way that I do. They really do see me. They really will lift me up. And really be aware of the people who don't do that. That's also very important. There's a lot of people just drain your energy, and you maybe have a lunch with them. You walk away and you're like, why do I feel so bad?
Yes. And it's one of those things that if you're not listening to your intuition, if you're just ignoring and pushing down your alignment and your values, and you're just ignoring those like little uh-oh bells, right? Those little,
Yes.
you're just pushing it aside like it's no big deal. But if you are in the headspace of self-betterment, right? Of trying to be the best version of yourself, you recognize it instantly. It's
Yes.
like, oh, okay.
And it can be confusing because I really like that person, but with them, I just don't feel great when I walk away. And another thing, I want, before we're done with this conversation, I want everyone to know that the best version of ourselves isn't 100%.
No, right.
Yeah, because then
It's the bumps and bruises. I love that you said that, because I am a firm believer in wabi sabi. It is the cracks. It's what we've gone through. It's the multiple C-section scars I now have to get my babies to earth. It's those things that create the character and create the resilience and create the incredible people that we become, so that at the end of the life, you don't sit and say, well, shoulda, woulda, coulda. You say, I'm so proud of that scar. I'm so proud of that mountain I climbed. I'm so proud of, right?
Yes, yes. And make peace with whatever that your past has been. And sometimes, and in my book, I talk about forgiving a con artist that I met, unfortunately, in my early 20s. And a lot of people say, how could you forgive a con artist who took you for everything you had, emotionally, physically, everything? And I said I did that so that I could move on and release myself from the negative energy associated with it. So sometimes, sometimes you have to forgive to get into present time and learn from anything that's happened in your life, become stronger and better from it, and have no regrets in your life. Figure out what you need to do to not have any regrets. And maybe it's someone who's passed and you're writing a letter out, and it's, they're not going to get it, but you're getting it all out. Forgive them, let it go. And what did you learn? Sometimes you just have to let it go. And that's the only way that you can get into present time to start to become the best version of yourself, which isn't 100%. Remember,
Yeah.
yeah, we're perfectly imperfect. And, maybe living your life, you have you have a plan of what perfect means to you in your life. And it's all these different pieces. But what if we did that at 70%? And that is perfection.
Right. Well, and
Something.
how do we even I think it's funny that it's like, okay, you can have an idea. So when women come into my community, we craft a vision, right? Because we are foundationally about 90-day goal setting. So we craft a vision. And I call it the woman on the other side of the wildflower field. We're looking at her and like, who do you want this to be? You want to embody her, right? You want to everything that she exudes. Well, you can have an idea of what that is, but along the way, it may change. Along the way, you may discover, oh, that's actually not something like you're a woman and you're a mom and you're a wife and you're a homemaker, whatever. You don't like cooking dinner. So don't cook dinner. Like figure out a way that it's like, oh, wait, that doesn't bring me joy. That's actually something in my life that makes me angry, that makes me get after my kids because I'm so annoyed with it or whatever, right?
Yes.
Identifying these things that's like, oh, I thought I thought to be a good wife and mother, I needed to make dinner every night. I thought to be a good wife and mother, I had to find childcare for my baby so that I could podcast and work because it's something I love, right? It's
Yes.
these supposed to's that we bring to, but release them. Be open to like, oh, well, this is kind of funny. I'm in my bedroom podcasting and it's now a nursery. That's kind of funny, right? Like this is a season I'm in. And I will look back on that and be like, that was really fun. Just like when I was podcasting out of a little cubby space in where were we? Lisbon, Portugal. I had nowhere in that flat. My family was loud and running around. And I'm like, well, there's a little cubby hole in this wall. I'm going to make a little fort in here and I'm going to do a podcast episode. Right. And it's like, that makes such a fun story, but it's not what we would put into our vision for ourselves.
No. So it's really being open, shows up, not holding on to it so tight that you can't see the opportunity in the moment. And we forget that there's opportunities every moment if you stay aware of what's in my best interest today, in this moment. What decision is will support my greatest and highest self or life today? And it might not be what you think. It could change complete course in a
It
moment.
might be staying in bed.
Yeah.
It might be not doing anything. That might be the thing that you just that you need. And sometimes that you can't even avoid that, right? But it's allowing yourself not to go down that shame spiral and that guilt spiral of I need to stay in bed today. It's just I have to. That's
Do you think?
sorry, go ahead.
I do think people are really hard on themselves for sure. Like you said, like they don't give themselves permission to just take a day off, have self-care and listen to that. So I think you're absolutely right. We need
This
to
goes right into this question of because you've worked with countless women. I read in your book and I felt so aligned with you, like our missions in this work. And where do you see the reoccurring obstacles that women face? And how can we help them see a way to overcome these things? What's a reoccurring one for you?
For myself,
For women that you see in your women coaching?
limiting beliefs. They're really having a hard time getting over those limiting beliefs from the past. And that really keeps them from seeing who they are today and what they're capable of today and into the future. And some of them are hidden deep. And all I can tell them is to be really, really aware and in present time. Be very present in your thinking. We have thoughts that are thousands of thoughts going through our head that are just habitual thoughts. And the only way we can change some of these thoughts that are negatively impacting us and really aren't true from the past is to be aware of them in the moment and ask yourself, you have to slow your brain down really, and your emotions and thinking, say, is that really true today? And then listen for the answer And who would I be without that limiting belief? What is available to me if I didn't have that limiting belief? And then change it to the empowering belief. And even if you don't believe it 100% and you know it's true, just keep being aware when you have the negative limiting belief, and change it to, and then you'll be prepared to know what to change it to. And
Mhm.
just keep doing it, being aware, and one day it'll be automatic.
Right. I love that you said slow your brain down. It was one of these mindset books I read. I can't remember which one, but it said in the moments where you are present, read the ingredients on the item you're doing. Like, so say, pick something in your day that you love doing, making my coffee. I would say making my coffee, right? Exactly how I like it. And it said to slow yourself down, to really bring yourself to the present moment. Each item that you're using, each action that you're taking, slow it down so much so that you're even reading the ingredients on the packages that you're using. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is so boring. But it is grounding. It
Mhm.
is grounding. It will bring you, because if you're reading the ingredients on your coffee, you can't be worrying about what happened yesterday or the conversation you had or the fight you had with your husband. But you're reading the ingredients. And I'm like, that is such a cool random technique for grounding yourself in the present. And just hear things like going out, walking in nature, and listening to your footsteps and those kind of things. They're amazing. That I've never heard read the ingredients. Like,
Real life. That's what I like.
that is a mindful tool.
I'm going to do that and see what
Cool.
happens. Yes.
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 And so for the other one, it was putting on my Lulu outfit to go to the gym. That's one of my favorite things. I love having a cute outfit. It makes me want to go to the gym, whatever. So it's like feeling the material, stretching it, like, feeling it on your skin and those kind of things. And then just like, this is super cool. It's true. It does. It brings you very slow motion into everything you're doing, rather than what we're used to. And it's like, go, 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 go. Check, 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 check. I've got all of these boxes I need to check off.
Yes.
And if you're busy filling the aligned Lulus,
Yes. Keyword tomorrow.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and it's true. And this is not easy. I have to say,
it's not
in the beginning, it's not easy. But it will bring you so much more awareness of your life
right.
and presence. And you'll see things you've never seen before. You'll understand things you've never understood before. And it's, we have all the answers within ourselves. And when I coach, I see them as creative, resourceful, and whole. And if you slow yourself down enough, you will get the answers. You'll see things differently. And that is a key. It is a key. And I'm sure you have other tools too, but just being mindful, it's just being mindful, slowing your brain down and read the ingredients, which is, or if you're out in nature, is really a great way to do that. Feel the tree, look at the tree, look at the leaves, in detail, whatever it is, just slow it down.
Right. It's also in seasons too. It's not something that you ever become an expert in. It's not something that you ever conquer. And I think there's a misconception with things like self-confidence and limiting beliefs and mindfulness, these tools that we teach in our coaching programs. And it's like, just because I am confident does not mean that I don't have things that I have to be mindful of to battle those doubts or the limiting beliefs. It is a constant thing. Like, I've started, well, a couple of years ago, I started embracing the word of the year. And before that, I was like, oh my gosh, a word of the year, that's not going to do anything for me, right? But of course, in my own like journey, I decided I'm going to embrace this. I'm going to do it. And I cannot tell you how, especially this one year specifically, 2023, I think it was, when my company was going like this. I had a business coach. I was like, had great downloads on my podcast. They were growing. I was doing all the things, going to retreats. I was doing all the things that we say is what you're supposed to be doing in a small business to grow and whatever. And my husband came to me and said, "Oh, I'm kind of done being a stay-at-home dad." You know, he's like, "So can we go travel again? Is it time?" It was supposed to be time in January that year. And I'm like, "No, I'm going, babe. I'm doing it. I'm really doing it, Harry." No. And so he's like, "Okay, okay." And so finally July rolls around and he's like, "Okay, I think it's time." And I had to come to terms with not shutting it all down, but basically saying, "I'm leaving the country. And what does that mean? I don't know, but I'll figure it out. Like, I'm going to be in a time zone where my rally call each week, I'm going to be midnight giving it to women at 1 o'clock, 1 p.m. in the afternoon here. You know, it's like, these are things I have to just embrace." And so my word that for that 6 months became ease. And
Yes.
it was like a lightning bolt when I embraced this word to just live in my mind always. It was like every question that I was faced with, every problem, every dilemma, every situation, it was like ease. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to force this. If it doesn't happen, it's fine. If the Wi-Fi is not great, it's fine. I can't podcast. It's fine. I have to podcast from a cubbyhole in a studio apartment. It's fine, right? And this
Mhm.
word just took on this whole embodiment of my life. And it was incredible. And since then, I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys, word of the year. We are embracing this
Yeah.
because it's like mindfulness is you shove that word in there and it kind of almost makes the decisions for you. It's like,
Mhm.
who was it that said, James Clear? He says, "I don't set goals, I set values."
Mhm.
And he says, so at the first of the year, I set my values. And then when a decision comes up, it's like, well, does this go against my value? Oh, this speaking engagement, I'm going to miss my daughter's ballet recital. So that goes against my values. So no, that's a no. That's an easy no. And I'm like, well, that's cool. So same with like having a word of the year or being mindful in these things, your values, it helps keep your life on track to where you want to be going, right?
That's beautiful. I love that. I think understanding your values is very important. And if you put a word out there that is something you feel like you haven't been able to achieve, or you
Right.
really, it's kind of like out of your comfort zone, even um, that'll help you grow. And and it's nice to have one thing to focus on, not 10
One.
things. But but it's important also to understand your core values. We're always work with that
Mhm.
with my clients and just have them there kind of you just know what they are so that we every day throughout the day when you're trying to make decisions, you know what direction they're either going to go towards your values or away from your values. And that's I love what he said with that
Yeah.
set of goals. That's a really, really important thing. And values, to clarify, I don't know how you think about values, but it's important to understand values that are yours,
Oh,
not
yes.
society's, not your parents. And you probably did get values from our society, from our parents that we love and that we're owning. But we also have others that might not be ours. So it's really important to really get clear on those. And
Right.
a lot of people like you that will help you do that.
Right. You know what's interesting? This is a little off topic, actually, because this question that I have for you right now is perfect for flow. It's exactly what we're talking about. But it just made me think of why so many women, especially because there are, and I'm finding men's communities out here because I was mirrored to a men's community. I was asked to
Mhm.
start the women's version of a men's community that's very successful. And so in doing this, I'm finding these other ones because, of course, he's connected to this other men's community and he's connected to this other men's community, right? So I'm finding these and I'm like, well, where? And the women in my community are saying, my husband's in this. Where's the women's community like this, right? And why I'm finding is I should be a generalization. I'm just throwing it out here. I've been doing this for almost 3 years, ladies. Okay. But I'm going to ask Terry. She's also an expert in this. Why it's so looked down on or not taken seriously for women, family centric women, to find coaches, to find mentors, because you're having a baby. You're going
Mhm.
to find a doula. You're not doing this by yourself. You're
Ex-
going to find a mentor. You're going to pay an expert,
Mhm.
pelvic floor expert. I don't know how to do that by myself. I'm going to hire a mentor. I'm going to hire a coach to teach me. Lactation coach. My baby won't latch. I'm not just going to keep slapping her with my boob and hope something changes. I'm going to hire an expert. I'm going to hire a coach. So why is it that women notoriously have this idea that they don't need to further invest in their growth and their education and their, you know what I mean?
Yes, yes.
Why is this not seen as important?
I think it's multifaceted on that one. I
Mhm.
think there's a whole range of reasons why. And it could be as starting with not having enough self-esteem to think that you could go there,
Right.
right? That you could get better. That could be one. Two, that you think you can do it all. You have this belief that you can do it all yourself.
Mhm.
I can do it all myself. And then I know as a business owner, the sign of intelligence in business is to
Oh,
do what you
delegate.
and find the expert if you want to do
Right.
something. Find someone that's an expert in that so that they can teach you
Yes.
or they can do it. You don't have to do it. So there's a lot of different ways, but that is how I think coaching is so brilliant. I've been doing it for over 20 years.
Wow.
When I started,
Amazing. So talk about the generational. This is big. You're like, what are you talking about? I've been asking this for 20 years.
exactly, and people didn't even know what coaching was. Oh, so
Right.
what are you coaching?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, yeah, it's about your life, and your career, and what's so beautiful. I always have to explain to people about either therapy, what therapy is,
Right.
what coaching is, and what the difference is.
Mhm.
And coaching really is about, and I'm very picky about who I coach with, but it's people who actually can believe that they can grow. You have to have that. You have to know
Yeah.
that
The pyramid, the 5 laws.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
And but if there's something, and you try to get people into present time, and we go back into the past to learn what we've learned from the past, but we don't want to stay there too long. It's more to learn, get back into present time, bring all your tools from the past into
Mhm.
present time so that you can start to create and stay in present time is a very powerful place, but that you can start to have that vision, like you said, that you start with your community with, that you have that vision, which might change, but at least you have the vision and you have all the tools right here in present time to create that vision. And that's what coaching does. It's a beautiful process. And it's like having your best cheerleader there that has no other agenda. They don't, like you said, they don't have the
But
past.
wanting you to be happy and healthy
Yes.
and successful. Yes. There's
Yeah.
no bias. There's
Yeah.
no bias. I think we run into that a lot with women is the feeling of there's no way this is what you're promising. Do you know what I mean? I hear that a lot because especially in a community coaching setting, you have to be vulnerable. You have to allow yourself to show your true self and these fears and these hurt
Mhm.
to a lot of different women. And
Mhm.
what does that usually look like in society?
Mhm.
Backbiting, gossip, someone naysaying on your dreams, right? That is unfortunately the stereotype, the stigma of women. And it's not that. When you find the right people, when you find the like-mindedness, it's so interesting. When I first started, I thought it was like, we're all similar Christians, Republican, like we're similar people, right? No. Oh my God. No, no. Yes, there is that component, but it comes down to something so much deeper, which one of my ladies calls the basement, the thing under the thing under the thing, which is
Mhm.
basement, which is this desire to be the best version of yourself.
Mhm.
Everybody in the community has that same desire. Their basement is all the same. That's
Yeah.
the like-mindedness. And it's incredible. It is life-changing, mind-blowing. And if I could just this is me pitching for anybody, for Terry's coaching, for my community. It's like, it is mind-blowing, incredible to have that kind of support and
Mhm.
accountability. Right.
It is. It is. And another part of this, I have so many things when you're talking, I have so many things, that I'm thinking about. I'm trying to be in present time because it's such a beautiful process. It really is. And I think when you said about vulnerability, I'm hoping I answered your question, but I think that's another reason people don't ask for help, or
Yeah.
coaching is vulnerability. But also, what's beautiful about a coach is that they're holding a space for you, this beautiful space for you to show up, and there's magic in that. And I have seen magic. I've absolutely seen magic where I hold this space where I know that they know who they are somewhere. I know they know what they want to do. I know, they know they're capable of much more than they are giving themselves credit for. And just holding that beautiful space, knowing that all of a sudden they show up and they start coming up with these answers for themselves. And there's, as you know, there's nothing more powerful than coming up with the answers yourself.
Right. Right.
Just this beautiful space that we've created we can ask powerful questions. We have powerful tools, but you're empowering this person in front of you. So that's one other thing I think coaching does. It's just holding this incredible space for this other person. And how often do you get that space in your life? How often do you have a space where you're just held in this beautiful light of love and acceptance and seeing you
esteeming.
Yes.
Someone sees me. Someone sees
Yes.
me, right? Someone hears me. Someone loves me. Because you can have, bless their little hearts, I know. And even the marriages, I'm not saying that are toxic. I'm not going there. I'm not even going there. But even ones that are healthy, it's just a different communication. It's a different language. So you can have this husband who's trying to support you and loves you, but still doesn't know how to hold space for you, doesn't know how to really see you and hear you and love you in a way, if you are not able to do it for yourself first and identify how he can do that for you, right?
It's very interesting, isn't it?
And we're not taught that.
That's a whole other.
Yeah, that's a whole nother. That's yes, we're going to get together. We're going to have a workshop, ladies. Don't you worry. No, that's a whole nother, we're not taught these things. We're taught, I don't want to say silly things. Like my son asked me if he needed to learn cursive yesterday. I picked him up from school. He's 10. And I said, no, you never need to teach cursive in your whole life. You never need to know that. He's all, well, my teacher says I do. I'm like, well, I'm not going to have you argue with her. So just learn cursive. It's fine. But no, you will never need, guess what you will need? You will need to know how to regulate yourself. You will need to know how to recognize and identify your emotions and not abuse them, right? You will need to, like, why is that not reading, writing, arithmetic? Why is that not important? It needs to be. It needs to be important.
It would change.
So, it falls on moms. It could, because we see it, we identify it's important, but it's like, my kids don't need to learn cursive. I'm sorry. Please teach them how to self-regulate. Hire a counselor and teach them this instead. I have a list of things I want you to teach my kids.
It would change everything, wouldn't it?
It would. It would be amazing. There's probably somewhere in Sweden or something that is what they do.
I'm sure. And, everyone, you are where you're at in any given place in your life. And just start there, right? Like wherever you're at, wherever you want to grow, whether it's just know what is capable. I think today we're talking about that. We're talking about what's available to you. And you can, okay, I'm going out on a limb. I'm going to say you can have it all, or that sense of having it all. Don't have to just be a mother, be a perfect mother and wife and homemaker, whatever that is. And you can do more things. You can find your passions in the middle of all this. You can focus on yourself.
Yeah.
A better version of yourself, whatever that is. So that hopefully you're feeling some kind of hope here, and that's what I wanted to make sure that everyone knows that we've lived through this, and we're a lot of people, and it is absolutely true. So have some hope for that.
That's what I love about podcasts is it's kind of, I really wish more people would feel empowered to share their stories, because like for me, I had, my poor listeners, they've heard this so many times, but for me, I had a woman on a podcast explaining what postpartum was. And honestly, it didn't really resonate with me because I had never experienced it, whatever. But I was listening to this podcast and she was explaining what it was to her. And up until that point, I had always assumed it was wanting to hurt yourself or wanting to hurt your baby. Like you hear these horrible stories that really are like, woman threw her kid off a bridge or whatever, like whatever, these horrible stories. So up until that point, I'd always thought of that. Well, come 2020, and I've had a 18-hour labor into an emergency C-section, right? Trauma, trauma, trauma. And because of that, I believe I suffered postpartum depression afterwards. And it wasn't anything. I was sitting there in the recovery room. They wheeled him in into his little glass cage, came in, and I was looking at him and I'm like, huh, okie doke. Like, whereas me, I have brands sending me things, where I'm a travel mom, I'm an influencer on my travel stuff. And I'm like, look at the nursery. Here's all the new fun things. This is what we're doing, blah, 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 blah. And I just sat there going, nope, not going to happen. Right. And it wasn't anything dire. It wasn't anything, but in that moment, I was able to identify, oh, this is what she explained. It's just this lack of motivation. She explained this podcast that I'd heard years before that had no meaning to me whatsoever because I didn't have any way to relate. And it clicked and I went, oh. And the nurse came in and I didn't realize I was crying. I didn't realize, but she says, what's wrong? And I says, I have no motivation. I'm supposed to put him in his little outfit and do his little announcement picture. And I don't want to do it. And she's like, I'll do it. And he came in and grabbed his bag and started putting him in outfits and started taking pictures. And I just sat there and watched her do it. And at the moment I didn't care, I'd like, okay, sure, whatever. And now I'm like so grateful and so thankful for this nurse that just, I'll do it. He didn't even skip a beat. And it's those kinds of things that's like, if you will come on here and just share your story and you will help maybe this one person. I don't even know who the podcast was. I have no idea. I wish I did. I wish I could go to her and say, you helped me in this time in my life. And thank you for sharing your story. But if we can do that, oh, Sifter, she's being so talky. She's getting older and talky. Sorry. If more people could just share and give permission, then who would that help? It's like you said earlier in this. Who would you help? You go into the store and your countenance just rubs off on someone. You never know who. Or just telling a mom that's struggling with her kids, can I hold that baby for you for a minute? Or can I reach that down for you? Or, hey, mama, you are doing a great job. Or a girl that's put together this cute outfit. She took time to do that. Walk up to her and say, you look amazing today. Right?
Yes, it's so
just
powerful.
Those little moments are so powerful, but yet we mostly tend to stay in our own bubble and isolate. We could go into that. That's a whole nother conversation.
After 2020,
but
well, yeah, very well. It's easy to isolate. And another part of telling our stories, even when they're vulnerable, which, I've done in my memoir for sure. And when I spoke with my TED Talk, I told stories I'd never told before. And what happens is that people all of a sudden don't feel alone. And that's one of the things that I received from my book and my talk, that, oh my goodness, for the first time, I've hidden these little stories inside of me. And I feel so alone and no one will understand. And by sharing that story, I gave them permission to be okay and that they're not alone. And all of a sudden it makes it, wow, she overcame that and she feels, maybe I can too, or whatever it is. So it's we're in this together.
Yeah.
We really are.
Yeah. I figured that out so much in all of our travels. It was so interesting to me. You have this idea that people are so different, right? You go to Italy and people are so different. You go to France, people are so different. You go to New Zealand, people are so different. And then you get there and it's a husband and wife having the exact same fight that you and your husband just had, or a mom struggling with her kids exactly like you do. I mean, we are all exactly the same. We're not that special. I mean, in the scheme of humanity, we are all in this together. We are all doing the same things, trying to get to the same place and be happy and successful and share these moments. We're all the same. So why do you think you are so uniquely special in your trauma or in your burdens? If you could just see that, if you could share a little piece of that, imagine taking 10 pounds of weight off your own shoulders. It's like if you just give that, even saying it out loud takes 10 pounds. What would that do for you? Right?
It's amazing. It's amazing. I also experienced an interest. I was just, as you were saying that, I had this physical experience of when I told some stories I'd never told a soul on stage.
Oh,
Absolutely, I was just
scared to death.
scared to death. And as soon as I said that, told the story, all of a sudden my space was up, across the United States. It was in the universe. It was everywhere. My space was so big because I was holding everything in to make sure that no one would ever see this little crack in this story, this little thing inside of me. So just the physical experience of that. What we're doing, if we're not telling, we're hiding our stories, we're also bringing in ourselves in this little cocoon, and our space is very small. I don't know if that makes sense to you,
Very cool.
but it's
Very cool.
huge. Yes.
Oh,
And
it makes so much sense to me. I feel it all the time because I am quite literally an open book here. They're everything.
love it.
Probably too much, but I do. I feel it. I feel the same way. I feel like if I can do this for someone else, it does. It helps me breathe better. It helps me lighten my load. It helps me. I totally understand what you're saying. That's so very cool. That's so cool that you had that experience.
Amazing. And I never thought that would happen. And it was just the most liberating thing to almost feel transparent. Like, I don't have anything to hide. I'm like you.
Liberating. That is such a perfect word for that. Just like, you can't hurt me. I've given you everything. I've shown you it all, and I'm okay with it all. Oh my gosh. Yes, I did have an experience like that. Hello. I did. And it happened just recently. And my poor husband, bless his heart, but he was the villain in this story, had his own insecurity tapped into. And I saw his 9-year-old, 10-year-old child in this tantrum. And he tried to cut me in a way that I had trauma around when I was a teenager. I did. I had shame and trauma. And since then, I had worked it out. I had worked through it, that this didn't need to be shameful. This didn't need to be guilt. I'm not guilty of this indiscretion from being raised in this culture, right? And he brought this up. This was only a few months ago, honestly. And I said, no, I've already released this. You do not get to do this to me. And it felt so good. And he wasn't, poor guy, he was not trying to be the villain. I could see his inner child that was being hurt by this. And I was like, you know what? No, I've already made my peace with this, and we don't get to do it again. And it was cool. It was cool. So, yep, I do have that moment as well.
That's huge. Huge.
Yes.
It's powerful. It really is. And because we get sucked back into it, that we are our story, or
Right.
we can change the meaning of our story. We do have a story.
Yeah.
This is what happened to me. But we can change the meaning of what it used to be and have a new meaning around that. That's the power. That's the power of being aware and doing the work that you need to do to resolve or learn something or understand what's happened in the past.
Yeah.
And you don't have to go back there.
Yes.
That's great. That's so powerful.
I have one last question for you. If you could give one piece of advice to women listening today who feel stuck or uncertain about their next steps in life, what would you say?
First thing that comes to mind is trust. Trust in something bigger than yourself. Trust that you will find the answer. Trust that it's okay to not have the answer right now, but trust that you will find it, and ask for help if you need it, and take a baby step. Take a baby step in any direction and keep taking baby steps. Something and that might you think, well, maybe I'll find the answer here. Maybe I'll find the answer here. Just take a little teeny baby step, something good. And you will find an answer, and it will start to open up wider and wider. So trust yourself. Know that you are more powerful than you think you are. You have more answers than you think you do. Trust that there's things that are outside of yourself that also can help give you the answer. And so that gives you hope. Never, ever, ever give up on yourself. Never. And you will find the answers. I'm a firm believer. Just keep taking little baby steps, and all of a sudden the answers will come.
Oh my gosh, I love that. That's so perfect. That's so beautiful. I want to share real quickly. I have not gotten to open this yet, but I'm excited to get to it, especially because it is Love Month and it just feels so Valentine-y, you know? This is Terry's first book, 100 Hearts. Now, this is a compilation of multiple women's stories, correct?
Yes.
I'm really excited for that. I didn't have time to because I wanted to get to this one first. This is your newest publication, and that's Truth, Courage, Love. So where can anybody else come and find you and check in with you?
Best way to find me is Terry, Terry, Sidford, Sidford, Sidford @gmail.com. Oh, I'm sorry. That's my email. But it's terrysidford.com is my website, and you can reach out to me. You can find my books there. You can find my talks there. And I'd love to talk to you about anything, really. So I just want you to know that there's resources out there for you, and never give up. Never give up on your best life, ever.
The 6 steps to courage, right? That's one of your that's amazing, one of your tools. So very cool. Go reach out to Terry and talk to her and have a great conversation with her. And thank you so much for spending your time with me this morning. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. It's been an honor.
Thank you, Terry.